So before we begin, would you like each one of you for like 30 seconds, very briefly introduce yourselves and your relation to the topic of parliamentary modernization? Please feel free to start. Jonathan, I'll do alphabetically. So if you want to start, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm the CEO of NovaWorks here in Australia. We've been working with parliaments around the world for the last 18 plus years, helping with their digitization and really about, transforming into a modular and very innovative digitized sort of processes. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Lumina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Luis. Hi, everyone. My name is Lumina. I'm the expert staff for the Open Parliament Indonesia program. So my job is to make programs that reform transparency, public participation, and parliamentary accountability through technology and innovation. So I work cross-sectorally with MPs as well as the Secretariat to build capacity on technology and modernization.
Thank you so much, Lumina. Robin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Back in 1997, the website at the Knesset started, and I basically started to work there at that time. So I've been working as, now as the deputy director of the Knesset website. I do a lot of the back-end technology, I will call some more light programming. And I've been doing that for a very long time. So I've pretty much seen the whole gamut from the beginning of the website, really at the time when the World Wide Web pretty much just started, all the way till what we do now. So that's my sharing.
Thank you so much, Robin. So as I was mentioning, the topic of today's debate is about the integration of different legislative systems as a strategy to enable legislative transparency and accountability. So the format is, I designed a few questions, which I will pose to each one of you, and then I will ask all the other colleagues to comment after that. I ask that each response be between 3 and 4 minutes, so we have enough time for everyone to participate. So without further ado, allow me to go to my first question. As we stride forward in this digital age, as we were discussing in this first debate, the evolution of parliamentary systems through the adoption of modular digital solutions has become paramount. The inherent flexibility of modularization allows us to have tailored digital systems to specific needs of diverse legislative areas such as answer, drafting, procedural administration, and parliamentary offices, thereby enhancing their quality and efficiency. At the same time, the seamlessly integration of these modular systems play a crucial role in bolstering transparency, promoting data accessibility, and reinforcing the trust between parliaments and their citizens. This balance between this customization and broad integration poses significant technology challenges for staff and providers working in parliaments towards this goal. So, Lumina, I'd like to bring this first question to you. Could you discuss how the modularization of the legislative digital systems in your parliament has impacted the quality and efficiency in these various areas across legislative services?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is certainly something that we are trying to achieve. We haven't gotten there yet. We are just in a process of clustering and integrating some of our systems in our parliament. But I would like to tell you a bit of a story or a background of the Indonesian parliament. So previously, the Indonesian parliament used so many applications as a way to solve their problems. And during the startup booms and during the e-gov and the digital transformation boom, there's always this, if we have a problem, there's always an app to solve and to as a solution for this problem. So it created so much apps and silos between the units in the parliaments, and that certainly has been what is hampering, one of the factors that hampers our integration and process. And so our ICT unit is also just recently been put in a higher position. So previously ICT was disregarded and it was put in a more lower rank in the bureaucracy. So it doesn't seem to be as important as today. But now seeing all of the data scattered, all of the applications scattered, they see this type of like integration and modular system as to be a certain like urgency, but it has been taken a very slow pace, because since 2018, I think our ICT department has tried to build like a grand plan for the ICT and architecture data, as well as big data, and designing what kind of technology that we want and what kind of architecture that our parliament need. And that we found like a few of the problems besides the regular human resources, or you know, how it's very difficult to build that digital literacy. Aside from that, we also have to follow so many standards and indicators and thresholds from the government. For example, like archiving, we have a national standard set by the government. Library, and also the law data network is also very rigid systems and data that we need to abide to. So when we want to kind of like integrate those information and data, and we want to set a standard, we need to harmonize all of those factors. So if we and that can cause a bit of a rift between units, because it will implicate their budget, it will implicate their productivity within the units, and it also has an anti-corruption unit, anti-corruption sense to it. When we want to use this as a way for a more transparent parliament, then it can become a threat to a few of the non-reformers or people who have been benefiting from the previous systems, where we have a lot of apps, we have a lot of money to spend on those kind of apps, and a lot of money to make silos and stuff like that. So that's just like a few backgrounds in our context.
Thank you so much, Lumina, for your opening considerations. Robin, would you like to share your thoughts on this question as well?
First of all, Lumina, I really appreciate your candor and your, you know, what you're sharing with us. That's it's very, very interesting, because, and again, this is not coming from a place to say, you know, hey, you know, we're doing great or something like that. And it's just interesting because we were there a while ago, but it was a very different challenge, because you're saying now you have all the technologies, and you know, you guys created apps for this and apps for this and apps for that, and now how do you put that all together? Back then, when we had these issues, there were no cell phones practically. Okay, it was, you know, there were certainly no smartphones, and certainly no apps in terms of you know, something available for the public. And so the challenges that we faced at the time were very much this database of the first stage of a proposed law or of a bill. Okay, here's a database, and then here's a database after, you know, being prepared for the second reading of the bill, and here's the database of the how the law looked when it was passed at the third reading, and then here's the final, another database. And so we would have, let's say, 4 databases for the 4 stages of a bill turning into a law. And the big challenge at the time, well, again, the goal of the website, and that was something that was different than the other, or the regular IT of the Knesset. The goal of the website was to say, hey, how can we take this, even if it's something really basic, and put it up online so that everybody could see it. So we didn't let that bother us so much. We just took each database as we were able to and put it up online so that the public could see it. The biggest problem was that, again, the public can see the document like this, and if they want to see the same document in the next stage, they'd have to go do a different search on a different database. Again, that was our but when we were faced with the choice of either wait till it's all integrated and put it up online versus put it up online and let the public figure it out, we did the second first. Okay, just get the information out there, let the public deal with it as we can. And then along came this brilliant idea to integrate all of the legislative steps together with some government offices. And it was this huge project that, you know how huge projects eventually don't work. A lot of money is spent trying to draft them and trying to plan them, and then in the end it all just falls apart. Too many cooks in the kitchen sort of thing. So in the end, the Knesset just went ahead and did create a system inside of itself to connect all those databases together and then to put them up online. So why am I saying all of this? Because I'm saying, you know what, maybe first of all, the fact that the apps are there and out there for the public is better than nothing at all. I mean, that's how I see it. Better than nothing at all. And then, I guess you can say, you can let your public know that the Parliament is aware of this need to put it all together and to make it easier for the public to get to it. You're aware of it and you're working towards it. But in the meantime, here's what we've got for you. So.
Thank you so much, Robin, for your thoughts. Jonathan, would you like to share your perspective on this one as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very insightful comments from both the panelists actually at the moment. So it's not uncommon, is what we sort of, would tend to say. We were sort of meeting with the Parliament, I think it was about a couple of months ago, and the process for them to publish a change to a member. So this is for a member of Parliament. So let's say their ministry had changed, or their electorate had changed, or something similar. They had to go through an update, about 7 different databases, but before they actually got to the public website, and it's one of those things where it's not uncommon. Like, so don't feel bad, that, it's sort of like, oh, are we the only Parliament in this space? No, there are actually a lot of parliaments in this space. But when we look at modularization and how that can actually impact like quality or efficiency of those sort of areas, when you think about it, if you have that sort of integrated system, so like as another example, a tabling of the paper within Parliament, if we look at that as a sort of singular, and most parliaments that I've sort of dealt with in the past have got a database for tabling of papers or tabling of documents. But then they've got other parts of the business, or, they might have committee staff waiting on to publish something to the public website, and so you've got all these sort of distinct silos of information everywhere, but they're not talking to each other. So where we can actually gain those efficiencies is, as sort of Robin was saying, that interconnectivity in between it all. So what happens over here can then trigger an event to publish something over here automatically instead of manual intervention. And I think that's probably where the efficiency comes in. But also when we look at quality, it's also about the deduplication of data entry as well. We were working with, Parliament a couple of years ago where we were sort of transforming them. And previously, for holding a vote in Parliament, everything was written down on a piece of paper, and names were checked off and yes and no and whatnot, and that piece of paper was then photocopied and given to about 4 different departments for them to re-enter that information again and again and again. And when you're dealing with, say, 200 yes or no bits of information, there's a lot of error, or chance for error of human mistake. So when I look at sort of modularization and that interconnectivity, it's about how do you enter the data once and then reuse it in a very clever way for all your other systems.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for your thoughts and for closing this round. Allow me to bring my second question to you, Robin. Continuing from this first round of discussion, on the application of modern digital systems within various legislative areas, I'd like to shift now our focus towards the critical issue of the data governance and transparency in the integration of these systems. As Jonathan mentioned, you might have 7, 10 databases that you would need to use to publicize coherent information for the public. So this is of the absolute importance. The governance of data encompassing its management, distribution, security, access is becoming an increasingly salient aspect of digital transformation. An effective data governance ensures the reliable strategy, and the integrity of data is crucial for maintaining public trust in parliaments, in institutions, in democracy itself. So my question to you is, the integration of these modularized legislative systems is not just a technological matter. It's at the heart of how we manage and share our parliamentary data. So how can we, building upon this earlier conversation, how has this integration of these modular systems in your parliament affected the transparency for citizens, their access to data, the data policies and the practices and the website of the parliament?
Okay, I'm going to attack that question from 2 different sides. The first side is, first of all, let's talk about the parliamentary data, and then I'm going to talk about some of the other data, such as Knesset members' profiles. 1 second, I'm just writing that down so I remember that. So the parliamentary data, we definitely did find that the integration, but as I described those databases before, that that all the databases that did not talk to each other, it was an incredible leap of, I don't even know the word is transparency. It's just like being good to the citizens of the country, okay? Really allowing people to be able to follow the legislative process for each law. It was a tremendous leap, getting all of that together and then putting it on a website and putting it out there to the public. It actually was in 2 stages, and we're now actually working on the 3rd stage, where, believe it or not, what we call like the current draft of a law, which has all of the amendments inside of it, is still provided today by services, by paid for services that one can acquire. Usually law offices, universities will pay to acquire such things, and the Knesset is still working on a way to put up what you would call, I guess, the integrated law, like again, the final draft of the law as it stands today, with all of the amendments written inside of it, as if that's how the law is today, without having each amendment listed at the end. Again, the Knesset still does not have that. There are services that provide that in Israel. And once that the Knesset does have that, done properly, and again, it's been worked on, it's being worked on. That will be the next really large leap into making the laws as transparent as possible to the largest public possible. Again, because it will be free for the public as opposed to paid for. So integrating those systems was amazing. Now let me get back to some other information that over the course of the years, such as Knesset members' profiles and their membership in factions and their membership in the government, and I'm trying to think of other, and let's say their membership in different caucuses. All of that information, whatever was on the website, interestingly enough, was more updated than what was in the Knesset databases, the internal databases. And that was because it mattered to the Knesset website staff to bring this information out to the public, whereas in the people inside of the Knesset, okay, so if the Knesset member's name was spelled wrong, it doesn't matter because it's just showing up on an internal document, so who cares? Okay, so and for years, really up until about 4 years ago, our database was more, again, was the go-to if you needed the latest information on the Knesset members, again, their membership in the factions, how the factions were spelled and presented to the public. It was all done properly by us. And then finally, someone came along and said exactly what Mark said earlier, which is there should be one person putting in this information, okay? One hands that get dirty with the keyboard, so that nobody else can make a mistake along the line, in between all of the systems and then all of the way out to the public. And yes, and finally and again, we've been screaming that for a very long time. And finally someone came along and said, yes, we agree, let's spend the money on that. And so now, again, I will happily say that, again, the Knesset members' names will be put in once into a system, and then that will be taken to the website. That will be taken to the, into the legal department. That will be taken into the protocols. That will be taken everywhere else. And again, and it's funny because you think, oh, well, that's so obvious. But, it took a long time. Like I said, the website, we didn't want to wait for anybody. We want to make sure that the information that goes to the public is right, correct, and we did what we had to do. And now, like I said, we happily, I don't have to be that person anymore putting in the name. All right, and possibly making another mistake. And so, happily it's coming from a centralized location. And yes, in the end of the day, that is the best transparency, because the way that same name is being spelled, and the information, and the information about the faction, and the information about their membership in a committee, even all that information is coming from one source. And if there's a problem, 4 people don't have to change it, 1 person does. So, how we can better provide for the, to the public.
Thank you so much, Robin, for your considerations. Lumina, would you like to share your thoughts on this question as well?
Yeah, sure. So in Indonesia, we did transform a lot of especially our legislation information through CLEC, or information legislation system, in our website. And now with the new redesign in August, I think we will try to integrate more regarding the videos, Hansard hearings, and so it's more accessible to the public. And as Robin said, it will be in a one place then that the public can access. But the thing is about transparency in our parliament, it's more politicized, and there always seems to be a lot of loopholes, especially regarding the publication of information. So we tried to publish as fast as possible when the proceedings happen, because sometimes the media reports faster than our official documents, so we need to catch up with them. And but the problem is sometimes verifying those informations, those notes and proceedings, and even our MPs' information takes a very long process and very long steps, and that can take that also what makes our parliament appear not transparent enough. And it's always in regards of the publication. And with all of that, some things like we've been trying to make like an official regulation and an official in a code of conduct of the parliament, so that the parliament needs to abide to that laws of technology and integration. But sometimes the admins are too afraid if the proceedings are not verified by our MPs, are not verified by an official note, and that will take a lot of time and speeding things a bit. And there always a case of like controversial legislations that seems to be always closed. So usually they will publish the legislation after all of the proceedings happen. So this is a problem, because there's no place for the public to be informed, and there's no place for public participation during the process. And that's why the technology and the system is just a way, but sometimes it's not the solution in regards in tackling transparency.
Thank you so much, Lumina, for your considerations. Jonathan, would you like to close this round with your thought?
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting one. I think, when we look at sort of transparency and whatnot, obviously politics is always going to have some sort of level of play, when we're actually looking at what content we're actually going to be publishing. But if you look at, for example, we were sort of having a debate with one of the parliaments a while back, where all of the information was published in Hansard. So all the transcript and the divisions, the way people voted and the members voted. And we were sort of saying, well, we're capturing all this data electronically, so can we publish an open data set around this information? And the instant response was no, because even though the data's out there in a PDF, it's harder for the people to extract that information from a PDF. So my sort of thoughts are we're finding a lot more sort of approach around, around open data and more publishing of that sort of in open data format. So we, for example, produce Hansard as XML. And similar to, say, like drafting of legislation, where that's moving towards more of an XML sort of based as well, even transcripts, even, proceedings, even notices, everything that we want to produce, we're producing in those sort of open formats. And if we're presenting that in an open format, then we can actually then have that sort of more transparency and also more accessibility for external consumers as well, which I think is really, really important. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Just making a very short comment. This round, just remember, made a recent discussion we had with a colleague from a parliament. This colleague from the communication area was trying to convince the drafting area to use XML formats, but they were still using PDFs with their notings on handwriting and then scanning the document to be published on the website. So they were saying, okay, but I cannot use this information because I will publish the document, I'll publish the PDF, but I cannot actually use this information.
Yeah, and we also found, for example, we had the ministry list, so where all the ministers were listed, and it was presented on the Parliament's website as a PDF. But we had the agencies, like Department of Finance or Department of Health, basically having to download a PDF and then trying to manually copy and paste all of the ministry list into their own database. So you also have the efficiency of, when you're actually looking at open data sets, is that the rest of the government can actually use that, because you should be the authoritative source of truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Robin, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I want to make a comment. But then that begs the question, okay, I'm going to use your example of what you said, a PDF document where, the handwritten notes are inside in the PDF document, which was basically a piece of paper that was scanned. Again, I'm going to, then this begs the question of, and I'm going to also say like that Lumina said, in the end of the day, if the parliamentarians or the people who are in charge of the information don't want the information to be XML'd, okay, and transparent and available, it's not going to happen. So then my next question would be, is it better that they have that really, really non-accessible PDF file online that someone can take, or nothing? So in the end of the day, it still seems that, the not accessible document is still better than nothing. That's just my comments on it, because again, as we see, and until the parliament wants to be transparent, it's not going to happen. If they want to be transparent, they'll throw all the money, they'll throw all their money at it. So, and resources. So
thank you so much, Robin. Lumina, would you want to make a comment as well?
Yeah, regarding what Jonathan said, and I agree with Robin, it's better to publish information rather than nothing. But the thing is, like, our government also have tried to push XML. We have one data policy, which is a blanketed policy for all institutions to publish their data into XML or Excel. But the thing is, our parliament sometimes the data sense in our parliament and our people is like, aside from exposing, they really know how to monetize it. So they don't want to share it unless they are paid or unless they are purchased. And they already have that sense that data is something that can be monetized. So a lot of our MPs have experts that go to the ground and surveys, and they have wonderful data on poverty, stunting, and all of that. But they don't want to share it because they would rather or sell or exchange it for something that's rewards for things like that. So, and another thing is that we've even like, let me just explain to you how hard of the silos in Indonesian parliament is, that sometimes because of purchasing, because gaining data is so hard, we need to buy and purchase data from outside resources for our own information and data, and that's how ironic it is. So we don't have our own independent power on our data sets and or information and technology, because we need to purchase everything from outside. But we did try to cluster what we need. We've clustered like 120 application into only 16, so we're getting there. So.
Thank you so much, Lumina, for your comments. And you just provided me all the background to my next question to Jonathan. We just discussed the institutional hurdles on implementing better integration and promoting more transparency in parliaments. Now, I want you to discuss with you the technological hurdles or the difficulties on making this integration, because as we discussed, on one hand, you need to have a tailored solution for specific areas. So you need a tailored solution for Hansard. You cannot use the same system from Hansard and for other areas. So they have specific needs. You need a specific system for drafting. So you need, on one hand, these, but on the other hand, you need to integrate them to not having 10 databases differently, not being integrated. And so my question is, working as a technology provider, what are the most common hurdles on the technology side, and how parliaments can overcome them?
Yeah, I think the lack of strategy and the lack of governance is the biggest thing. So when you look at sort of, what are the reasons that these applications or these data silos exist? Like, if you really boil it down to that fundamentally, is that there's obviously a need. And one of the biggest problems we've always seen is that you have one department which will just act in isolation, and because they're trying to fill their own need. So they're going to be successful in terms of what they're trying to achieve for their own purpose. But they're not necessarily thinking of what Hansard needs, or what broadcasting needs, or what the website needs, because that's not their primary focus of what they're actually trying to do from a technology perspective or a business perspective as well. So I think, having an overall strategy from a technology point of view in terms of how you're actually going to consolidate does become really, really important, from that point of view as well. So, sorry, I'm just recovering from a cold, so of the flu. So, but yeah, effectively, so when you actually look at that sort of technology side, is that, there's also a lot of significant investment. So when you sort of looked at Lumina's side of things, where they had 126 applications, sorry, and consolidated down to 16, that would have taken quite a lot of effort. And so it's understanding, like, what are you actually going to then consolidate down into, and what actually becomes the source of truth as well. So, those are your major sort of technology hurdles in terms of identification of what is actually going to be your source of truth for that sort of data consolidation and integration point of view.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Robin, would you like to share your comments on this one as well?
I think that it's funny because you're saying what are the hurdles or the obstacles, the technological obstacles to becoming to modernizing or becoming more transparent or more integrated. And at the end of the day, it's funny because I don't see it as technological, I see it as monetary. And again, monetary will also boil down to administrative or budgetary decisions, and and prioritizing and stuff like that. Because in the end of the day, one of the very first things when I first joined the website staff at the Knesset, again back in 1997, and we're talking about like some of the technologies were really basic HTML and classic ASP, and really basic some of the basic ways of getting the data outside to the public. One of the programmers there said, there's nothing that we can't do, okay? And technologically, there's nothing we can't do. And again, we're talking about a time before .NET even came out, okay? Or, other technologies. And those are technologies from a long time ago. So, and the truth is, and over the years, anytime someone has said, well, can the website do this and this and this? My first answer is to say, yes. Okay. The question is somebody going to fund it? Is somebody going to take the time and energy to create it? And so it's funny because in my reality, and I've been living all these years, and at the end of the day, the bottom line is that if someone is going to pay for it and do it, and even if it's paying a ridiculous amount of money for something that maybe doesn't seem to be up to that price, it's still a matter of someone deciding to pay for it, because without that, it's just not going to happen. And again, a quick technological word here is that one of the next projects coming up that's actually it's right now in development is what we call the SMART protocol, which is Hansard, which is like the minutes of the plenums, right? So this is a SMART protocol of the plenum, which will be an HTML document in the end based on XML, okay, that is coming out of the protocols as it is now. Right now, the protocols, we also have what's called a synthesized protocol, or synchronized protocol, which is basically you can watch the video and watch each line captured at the same time. And the only way you can do that is using XML. In other words, you can't, a Word document is not going to work for that, obviously. So the minutes have been coming out already in XML for years, since 2013. So now it's just a matter. So again, since 2013 until now, we've had the ability to create what we call a SMART protocol, but nobody until then threw the money at it. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. In other words, the technologies are all there. And the question is someone prioritizing it? Is someone going to set it aside and budget, and set a budget for this particular project? So, that's my experience on that.
Thank you so much, Robin. Lumina, would you like to share your thoughts on this question as well?
Yeah. If Robin said it was about money, for me, it's more about politics. We had previously we had like a really great application called DPR now, which integrated all of the information services and public participation services and legislation services, but it was turned down because of an exchanging regime and exchanging political actors. And that is something that we've been struggling with, and even maintaining very important systems in our websites or our parliament has become a chore just to maintain the systems and to maintain the services. And because of that, sometimes the struggle is to teach and to also develop the capacity for our internal human resources on the new programming languages and the new systems and the new certifications. That is something that we are now currently catching up, and we feel that a great gap when we hired like a younger team for for a new redesigning website, and our older programmers might have a problem in catching up with all of those codes and new languages. And it has taken time to teach the admins and also teach the staffs how to use the new programs in our website. So that was itself is a struggle. And on the technological side, I agreed with Robin. Sometimes it's difficult for us to convince MP of what is important and or what needs to be highlighted, because MPs usually want a pragmatic solution. They want something that is fast and that can solve problems, but that doesn't necessarily, if we made it, sometimes they don't even use it. We have tabs, we have a lot of gadgets that integrate all of our system to our MPs, but under 10% of the MPs casually use those apps or casually use the tabs that have this integrated system. So they have like for abundance of resources and abundance of technologies and application, but sometimes they resist using it, and for whatever reasons, maybe there's a lot of reasons, because of the age gap, or maybe because they're anti-technology. So that is something that's hard for us to define what's the problem and what areas we need to develop. So in open parliament, I try to socialize to the staff to focus on what the public needs rather than what the MP needs, because we know that we are a supporting system for the MPs. We need to provide the best technology for them, but sometimes in clustering these issues and also prioritizing the issues, sometimes we need to see what is the information and the services that the public needs, and then we bring that to the MPs, and then we build the technology. So that is something like the change of process that we tried to make in Indonesia. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lumina. We are out of time, but if you allow me, I'd like to bring our last question very briefly for us to conclude this debate. It's about artificial intelligence. It's impossible to ignore the potential of emergent technologies such as AI in reshaping this landscape. AI, with its ability to process vast amounts of data, make predictions, and automate tasks, could be instrumental in navigating these complexities of data governance, improving efficiency of modular systems, and managing these technological hurdles that we discussed. Furthermore, AI could enhance transparency by enabling more sophisticated analysis and presentation of parliamentary data. So in light of this, I'd like to ask you a question. Given the potential of AI, how do you foresee the incorporation of artificial intelligence in the future to improve the modularization and integration of legislative systems in a way to enhance legislative data and transparency and to manage these technological changes? Lumina, would you like to start very briefly, please?
Yeah, for AI, I don't think formally our parliaments have discussed or explored more on that. As I previously mentioned, I think our parliament were a bit interested in exploring metaverse, and of course, maybe that will lead to something more advanced. But specifically, they because of COVID and because of all of the online activities that happens, they specifically want to use a more advanced technology in the metaverse, especially in parliamentary proceedings and also engaging with the citizens. So Indonesia, just a bit of context, I'm sorry, it'll take quick. So Indonesia has a lot of regions and topical places that are very difficult to access directly. So they want, so our MPs were a bit interested in exploring engaging in metaverse, in engaging constituents, and also in those remote areas, and also in the borders. So hopefully our technology could advance and could spread across all those remote regions. But yeah, we will never know what happened later.
Thank you so much, Lumina. Robin, would you like to share your thoughts on this one?
Yes, currently, if somebody wants to find out all of the information about how the Knesset and even other parliaments around the world, let's say how the Knesset dealt with questions such as raising chickens for food or for eggs, okay, let's say. And right now, if I want to find out that information, I can spend hours using Google and using using all of my search engines at inside of the Knesset systems or online, or I can turn to the Knesset research department and have them do that for me, and they'll say, oh, here in 2 weeks we'll have a great document for you. Or one day, will there be a situation where I say, just like in ChatGPT, but it's like a closed system inside the Knesset, where I say, hey, I want to know, actually, why closed system? It should be open to the public. Hey, I want to know everything about chickens, chickens and the chicken and egg industry in Israel and how the Knesset dealt with it all these years. And on the fly, I get a document that tells me all of the history. It pulls it all out of the, all of the debates and all of the protocols and out of everything. And I have my answers immediately. Do you know how amazing that would be? And how much money and time can be saved by, by something like that. So that's one possibility of how we see AI being able to help the work of the parliament, because again, obviously armed with that information that we would get, very quickly out of all of the data, the parliamentary systems, that makes it easier to make further decisions, propose new laws and such. So, dream big, think big, and one day it's going to happen.
Thank you so much, Robin. You just remember me the debate we had last year with Jonathan, Ludovic, and yourself about artificial intelligence as well. I think we had something similar to discuss that. But Jonathan, would you like to share your final thoughts on this question? I know it's a topic very close to heart for you.
It is, yeah. We're actually actively using artificial intelligence in parliaments, as we sort of speak as well. And the way I sort of look at it is that AI we use to supplement, not to replace. So, I think that's a really fundamental key sort of point, is that, use AI to supplement parliamentary work, not to replace parliamentary work. So, to gain those efficiencies, to gain, the sort of additional information or, which you actually want to do. So, for example, the way which we're sort of using it is like even in broadcasting, where you've got live captioning, or you've got, using the sort of live captionings to then draft your Hansard or your transcripts. So, having that sort of first strike as well, using artificial intelligence as well. Or another way is that if you get a very large document, 300-page document, is there a way which you can use artificial intelligence to extract all the key topics and produce a summarization as well? So, there are quite a few ways which I think AI can be used, even in its current form, in small ways, to really assist both members and the public, to digest that sort of information. If you look at, for example, there's a public on a parliament on their website, they've actually got on each of the committees and each of the different inquiries, they've actually got, the English version, like all the different sort of translated versions, and also like an easy to read version as well. So, and that can be actually all auto-generated using artificial intelligence as well. So, there are sort of a lot of efficiencies to be gained by, looking and sort of exploring, what you can actually do with artificial intelligence. And I think, the future is very bright around that, but I think has to be used in a structured and a controlled way.
Oh, thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Lumina. Thank you, Robin. And this last question allows me to make a little announcement that I also made in the first debate. We have on the upcoming agenda of our discussions a event on July 6th, specifically about artificial intelligence in parliaments, which is a preparation for our annual conference between September 11th and September 15th, which will encompass all elements from digital transformation and modernization in parliaments. But out of the 15th debate, the 15 debates we're going to have throughout the week, at least half of that will be about AI. So about AI in different moments of the legislative activities. So thank you so much for your participation here today. I'm going to be sending you invitations to these upcoming discussions as well for your participation. And before we go, if you allow me, I'd like to ask a picture of us for us to publish later. I'll ask our staff to take a print screen of our screen here to be published later. I think it's done. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. Go get some sleep, please. It's super late for you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Lumina, as well. It was a pleasure to host this discussion here with you today.